Smoke if you got 'em.
Reading on the job, Fanfiction Review. What the fuck is all, everybody, and welcome back to Smoker's Lounge Gaming. I'm Will Martin, and this is my newest cycle of videos where I review fanfiction, various fandoms, and genres. For most of the jobs that I've had where you're allowed to have your phone out and it's super dull and slow, I perused AO3 for fanfiction stories. This indulgence started when I was a kid, and I found that the Sailor Moon series that I loved was never ever going to get translated beyond Season 2 at that time, and that everything we saw in anime was pretty much changed from the source material. If that was the case, then screw it. I'll just read stories that I like. Official release be damned. Granted, this did improve as the studios became more receptive to fans' demands of authenticity in the material, while also placating the dying parental concern groups of the late 1980s and 90s. Even then, I still read fanfiction as a way to distract and unwind, as well as to see the pulse of the fandom and see what concepts are floating around in the area. I also found that this was somewhat of a bad idea after finally migrating to AO3, because if you thought fanfiction.net was a demented excuse of archive of a fandom perversion, AO3's lemon communities are much deeper than that of the pit, what FF.net was always called on the outside. If you do have an idea for an additional story for this show to review, leave a comment below and I'll get around to reading that, and possibly, if I like it enough, do a review on the show for that fanfic. Self-promotion sometimes is a bad thing, but if you're really struggling and you're trying to get views on a new story, shoot it to me. I'll give you a shot. But first, a word from this video's affiliate sponsor. Are you just now in the market for a perfect gift for your favorite pop culture addict? If so, then our video sponsor, 80stees.com, may be the answer for you. Tons of different 80s, 90s, and aughts pop culture t-shirts from movies, video games, and music can be found on the website, and other branded swag can be yours for this gift-giving Yule, and you can even use the link in the description for a discount code. I'll be getting the reused Dojo t-shirt myself, and you'll be able to see that in future videos once it arrives. The link in the description is for that code for this channel, and you can buy one shirt and get up to 75% off the second shirt when you use that. Click now because this sale ends on Christmas Day. Now that I've done my requisite hawking of things, let's get on with the video. The first story we have for this series is set in the Star Wars universe, and before you nope the hell out faster than the mouse wrecked the expanded universe, hear me out, it's a good fic. That's an opinion, disagree if you want, but that's the best part about taste, is that it's personal. But even if you like the sequels, then part of what draws you to Star Wars is the characterization, the Jungian archetypes that pepper the story and give flavor to a world that we only see on a flat silver screen for an hour and change at a time. The novelizations of the movies give even more depth, and are part of the reason why Han Solo is my favorite smuggler of all time. Read Han Solo's Revenge, link in the description for the wiki article about that story if you want to see Han being his best scoundrel self and taking out people who really need to be taken out. Given that, it only stands to that some of the Star Wars fan fiction will also give this quality, which is one of the first things I notice about the Force of Many Sight series by DAsObiQuiet. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, I'm just going to call you Obi for short, is that Anakin's characterization, along with others in the story, are spot on. Seriously, Obi, are you friends with Ian McDermott or something? Because the way Palpatine is written in this story is an absolute spitting image of what would have been done on screen.
Remember back to your early teachings. All who gain power are afraid to lose it, even the Jedi.
Spoiler alert! If you don't want to be spoiled about some things in the story, click the tag to skip to the end of this segment, or to go to the rest of the opinion recommendation about the fic, because there may be some plot details revealed, though I have tried to keep spoilers to an absolute minimum. I watch and read things from the director's chair, as I call it, so spoilers don't really bother me if it's not a complete play-by-play of what happened. Now, on to the in-depth review. I call this series for short, Vader Goes to Therapy, because in the story, Anakin ends up talking to an original character named Girth, who's a fuzzy little creature called a Drell, and this character convinces me that Obi has a degree in psychology with how well they're able to help Anakin cope with all that he did in the previous timeline, but with the weight of being returned to his youth after his death. Girth manages to drag some of the Jedi Masters into it, who are also written very well, and ultimately I'm gripping the edge of my seat as Anakin dances around Palpatine's manipulations, and does so because he's managing to heal past his traumas from his previous life and death. Yes, this is a time travel fix-it with original characters, and it's good. Really good. With the reputations with the words OC and time travel fix-it here in the fanfiction world, you'd be shocked to find that this story stands out among those tags, as well as the Star Wars section as a whole on AO3, as a gripping story about healing and redemption for a character that mostly gets a "sorry I killed all the Jedi, but you guys were lame" rushed arc that either sides with Anakin completely or has him never falling to the dark side to begin with. The series starts with the story Hindsight is Not Perfect. Well, this details Anakin's death, rebirth, and subsequent realization that he can taste and smell again, which throws him into a bit of an out-of-character jubilation, and then the reality of reliving his life sets in again. He's a little bit more prepared when Qui-Gon Jinn comes to get him, and later in the story it's revealed that his Force signature still resonates as the fully realized Darth Vader when he snaps, causing Palpatine to become suspicious at this new dark supernova in the Force. The counterbalance in this story is Siri Tachi to Anakin's time travel. She apparently gets dragged along with him, and that's what gives the premise for the Jedi Council to view Anakin as more than just a side project that Qui-Gon found. Siri gets into all kinds of other situations with Anakin and other characters as he tries to avert the coming darkness of the Sith, and this is interspersed with sessions of Anakin going to therapy with Girth, and then also interacting with the other younglings and initiates. The story then moves to the dangers of foresight, which goes into more of Siri Tachi's experience in the death and rebirth process, as well as her growing Force bond to Anakin. Anakin also goes through his own growth in the plot of tempting Dooku with information about Palpatine in an effort to thwart his fall to the dark side. Donning a mechanical prosthetic suit and adopting the name Luke Lars, Anakin feeds Dooku a slow drip of information that culminates in a scene where Anakin loses his temper and shows Dooku what the dark side really is in one of the sequel stories. It's a lot to read through, but it's well-paced and the characterization is engaging as hell. After this, it moves into the current main story, the inevitability of oversight. This right here is the meat and potatoes, showing all the schemes that Anakin is both in involving himself and those he starts to try and thwart the Clone Wars before they happen. The whole metric fuck ton of character growth that's seen in this story, with the effects of Vader going to therapy being evident in not only his increasing competence compared to his grief-blind state as Vader, but in the rest of the Jedi Order as Mace Windu, Yoda, and even Obi-Wan Kenobi are forced to reevaluate what they know about the Force, emotion, attachments, and everything else in order to defeat an enemy who's using all of their weaknesses and the entire galactic bureaucracy against them. The tie-in stories, sharing Outsight and the warmth of Resight and the trials of the nearsighted, those deal with Anakin's therapy sessions, meeting his mom, and having other scenes in there, which I really liked being in the central stories, but I can understand the author's intention for those who don't want to slog through Annie's feely-feels just to get to the part where he defeats Palpatine already. Either way, this story is a definite on my recommend list to anyone who enjoys reading in the Star Wars universe. If you like Star Wars stories, then check this one out. It's a great series, even if there is a bit of tie-in fatigue in order to keep the entire thing straight, but that's more of a problem with AO3's ease of formatting and linking stories in a series, and that's created an environment that allows for such tie-ins. I'm guilty of this with myself, with the Glance Askance series, my Harry Potter AU, that having nearly the entire thing be tie-ins to each other. The author updates fairly regularly and has been consistent with both updates and style. The story has only gotten better since it started. It's ongoing still, so you may not be able to catch up fully before the next chapter hits, but that's okay. Obi's great about tagging, linking, and using author notes to put scenes in a chronological context. That's all for this episode of Reading on the Job on Smokers Lounge Gaming. I'm your host, Will Martin. Be sure to like and subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you next time. Smoke if you got 'em.